makes us the VFW. Learn more at VFW.org.
The Department of Veterans Affairs is so innovative, it not only improves the lives of veterans, it transforms the lives of healthcare professionals who serve them. With access to the latest technologies and remarkable benefits, transform your
So
future.
if you get a new computer, it's like what? I can't deal with this right now. My computer's like, it's like a web book at this point. I've also had it since 2016, so it might be something to do with it. Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time, real estate radio on WWDB, 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. And we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover today. The summer has not been slow when it comes to real estate news. We're going to be talking about new listings potentially peaking in 2024 and being the second lowest year on record. Later in the show, the EXP CEO Leo Pereira, he came on to a live YouTube to talk about cooperating compensation and EXP policies around that. And then we're also seeing that home cancellations are on the rise. But first, we're going to be talking about what's going on with listings. So if you like what you hear, you get some value out of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Sarah, you can do so with a link in the comments. So I'm curious what you think about this, Sarah. There was an article on Housing Wire from Logan Mohtashami, and this guy makes predictions all the time, which I love, because a lot of analysts, they're like very like prediction averse. They don't want to be wrong. Logan does this all the time, whether he's right or wrong, and he's in the prediction business, which I appreciate. And he's seeing that the highest number of new listings in 1 week so far this year was 72,329, and he set his personal targets of a minimum of 80,000 new listings for at least 1 week at the seasonal peak, and that didn't happen, so it was close. And now he's saying we're in a decline, and this is set to be the second lowest year on record. Are you feeling that in the market right now? I mean, obviously we're in summertime here. We're in the Northeast. It's a little different.
Right.
What's your prognosis? And this is new active listing. This isn't supply, so it's a little different. And are your clients feeling that as well?
Honestly, I don't know that I'm seeing that. I feel like there are new listings that are coming out. There's stuff that I'm able to send, every day pretty much that's popping up. And I know on the back end, the time between getting a listing contract signed or getting to the listing appointment and then the house actually coming up can really can vary. Like it can be quick, or depending on the amount of prep or the time frame for the seller, it can be a while. But I know like on the back end for me, I have several things in the works that will be coming up and add to that new listings hitting the market. Well,
and I think your business is in a different spot than most agents because you're beating the market right now. I mean, if you look at our numbers here just in the greater Philadelphia area, I mean, you're way up this year compared to where you were last year in terms of transactions. The number of closed sales year to date are down 3.7% in Philadelphia, the surrounding counties, parts of South Jersey, and in northern Delaware. So, I mean, that's the reality of this, is that you're ahead of the market here. So, great job, right? I want to unpack what you're doing to make sure that happens in a second here. There's a chart that they put out, and we'll put this in the post edit here. It comes from Housing Wire, where they show that it was kind of like in 1 month in July, and it looked like it was like the 4th of July, we saw a real drop in the number of single-family new home listings. I think it's also because 4th of July was on a Thursday, and it was a very slow week. And we saw the same thing kind of right around the beginning of June when school was out. And then there's going to be those one-offs. But we're way ahead of where we were in terms of new listings so far this year. But we're kind of been hovering around this like 68,000 range. And I think Logan's point is that we're not seeing consistent growth over 2023 levels. And while inventory's up, I think the number is 23.8% locally compared to this time last year through the month of June. There's still these people kind of like letting this market play out a little bit, and I think a lot of that has to do with rates and what the Fed's going to do and some other things. So, do you see supply continuing to grow like we've seen it? Because I mean, even just this past week, we saw 8,800 new homes come to the market, and kind of Logan's target level here is 11 to 17,000. While we're close to the peak of where we want to be for inventory, it's not quite there. The yearly inventory peak is we're actually at the peak right now. It's 677 246, which is pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's going to. I think the month of August is going to, bring about more homes.
Well, and we saw that happen in 2022. If you look at these charts here, in national single-family home inventory, typically it kind of like levels off, and then you see like inventory, ramp up a little bit, especially in the second half of the year. I mean, obviously 2020 was very different, but historically it's kind of like a line that goes up and then it peaks and it comes back down towards like the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So that would be in line with historical trends, and I am a big believer that we're going to see historical trends come back in a way that's been a little different than what we've seen in the past, because we're in a normal market now, meaning like you're not seeing these incredible things happen. There's still those homes that have incredible things happen, but it's more of a case by case basis.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to continue to see this little chart that we're looking at and that you can see when we post it, but I think we're going to see that line continue to go up through August and September.
Love, and I tend to agree. Now, other people don't agree. So Glenn Kelman, I don't know, the CEO of Redfin. He had some insane comments that he put out on CNBC this past week, and this is kind of the problem that we deal with all the time. Is you get someone like him, and it's like, oh, the CEO of Redfin, he's talking. So I want you to react to this. Housing is just in a funk. Even though interest rates have dropped 20 to 30 basis points over the past few weeks, we've seen home buyers still on the sidelines. The real issue might just be the election. We've talked to so many home buyers who said they're going to wait to see what happens in this election. It is gripping the national psyche, as you may have heard. So before I react, what do you think about that, Sarah?
I don't really agree with that. I think regardless of what is going on in the world, there are always going to be people that are sitting on the sidelines and kind of waiting. But there are motivated individuals out there that are ready and want to transact.
I agree, and to me, this is like an idiotic comment. I think this is really, really just it's just bad information. The real issue for home buyers is probably the most rapid interest rate increase we've seen in decades. I don't think the real issue is that there's an election coming.
Right.
Because we talked about this last week. A lot of the election data out there shows that typically the year after an election, prices go up and sales go up. So, I cannot agree with that or disagree with that more. But you got to fight this stuff. So, are you having to deal with these concerns now when people like that are saying, well, we got inventory is maybe tailing off. You get the CEO of Redfin, shooting their mouth off about these things. Is this something you're dealing with on a daily basis with clients?
Not really. 'Cause, I would say for the most part, most people are not like paying attention to what the CEO of Redfin
okay.
Like maybe they are, but for the most part, I don't know that they are tapping into that a ton. The election, I feel like I've had some people bring it up, but maybe more as just hey, what do you think about that?
Sure.
Not like this is going to I'm not doing anything because there's an election. More just like, what do you think about it? What do you think that means? And then being able to, provide them data, give them information, say it doesn't really make sense to hold off until after it.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because we were, we do these trainings twice a week, or not twice a week, that'd be insane. Twice a month around like what's going on in the market and this kind of data. And, everyone gets freaked out. And then like, it's funny, people start wanting to go the political angle, which, if you're in real estate, just don't talk about politics.
Right.
It's one of the you're going to alienate half of the potential clients that you have. So
right.
What you said is like, hey, so tell me what your concerns are about the election. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people really know.
Right.
They just get nervous.
Right. Well, it's something that's coming up that's big that doesn't happen every year. So it makes sense to wonder how that could impact. But I have not yet had anyone say we're just going to wait until until after. I think we're also far enough away. Like it's getting closer, but I think that we're also far enough away at this point. It's not like the election's next week.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even if it was, right?
Yeah.
They move at a snail's pace in Washington, D.C. So any policy that gets enacted, first of all, you got to have everyone aligned on one side to get anything passed anymore. I mean, if you want something to not get done, you should go to the politicians to do it because they're going to argue about it. It's not going to work. To put a bunch of government pork in there, and then they'll argue about something else. And this is both sides. So it's and the data is there. We talked about those KCM slides. So our friends at Keeping Current Matters put together what happened in 7 out of the 8 last presidential elections. Prices went up. The only time they went down was during the financial crisis after 2008. And in 9 out of the past 11 elections, we saw home sales go up. And the only times they didn't were in the 80s when we had some economic challenges we were dealing there. So the data is there, and then you can there's probably something else that's causing them to wait, and they're using that as an excuse. Do you find that happen a lot?
Yes. Like not like I mean maybe like the thing may be the election that they're using this time, but very frequently it can be interest rates. It can be there's like different things that like you can help talk them through, but that isn't actually what's going on.
I agree, and I think and you know what it probably is? They're probably not ready.
Yeah.
And when people are ready, like they will do everything necessary to sell or buy a home. But when they're not ready, and this is where so many agents make the mistake, you can't coach readiness, right? You're not going to make someone do something for your reasons. They're doing it for theirs. And we've been through moves. I mean, you have had family and friends that have moved. It never goes the other way. I mean, my parents, they moved recently. They were in their home since like the mid 80s. They talked about moving for like 4 years, but they weren't ready. Yeah. And then finally it was like, all right, we're doing this because they were ready.
Right. And then once they were ready, boom, boom, boom.
It happens fast.
They do it. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can be in that like stage of talking about it, but really not being ready for so many years. So, so I think that oftentimes, it's not that this house isn't perfect or, like they're finding different things to be the reason why, when in fact it's just, we don't really want to do this right now.
Well, yeah, or they're not ready. And, like you could be ready, like maybe like mentally, you should be doing it, but we've met with many sellers that they're just not there yet. There's something holding them back, and people move for a lot of reasons, but it's not because like we're timing the market or anything else. Like that's the reality.
Right. And I think that there is some degree of, yes, we might know that this makes sense and that this is the right thing, but like there's a lot of emotions that get attached to and tied into a home, especially if you've been there for a long time. And like, even if it's like, all right, this does make the most sense, it can be hard to let go of that. Could
not agree more. So now with that, it's also our job to educate people. So we're talking about this like inventory growth slowing down. I'm still very optimistic about inventory here as we're seeing the supply is growing. Like there's listings that are out there for a little longer. So Altos Research, they put together a couple key takeaways after looking at the market for the first 6-7 months of the year. So we're seeing inventories up. New listings are continuing to come to the market. There's still fewer sellers than normal and more than last year. And then there's also like a slowdown, and everyone's talking about like coming soon, listings are slow. I'm a big believer this has to do with the time of year. I mean, we're in that peak vacation season, and everyone is like surprised by this who wasn't selling real estate before 2020. Right. This is what happened every August. Gary Vaynerchuk, he did a video about August. I think I've showed it to you before, where it's like there's 2 ways you want to look at August. One is that, hey, if you're like kicking butt and you're ahead of the schedule for your business, maybe this is where you take a little breather before you push hard for the end of the year, because a lot of people are away in August. This is the month where a lot of people go on vacation and school's back in session in some places in August, some places like early September. And then the flip side is, if you're behind where you want to be, it's a great time to kind of load up your business, build your pipeline. Not that transactions will or won't happen, but you've got to have 2 parties to a transaction. So, you can build that fall window, because September, October, November, there's a lot of business to be done. That's kind of your second window, if you will. The first window is like up until like the end of June. And you have a little bit of a slowdown, and then typically another ramp up before you get into the holidays. And that's your time to stack those up. So I'm a big believer in that, and I think the coming soon listing slowing down is a factor there.
Well, and then because you've also got, like, when people are going on vacation, let's say they're going for a week, you have leading up prior to vacation, you're trying to like scramble to get ready.
Oh God, yeah.
And then like like when you get back from vacation, you're usually like, all right, I need to get back in routine. I need to get caught up on work. So it actually like it extends out beyond just the week that somebody's on vacation. They're kind of like not in a place where this is like a priority or they're trying to do something beyond the time they're physically not here.
Well, you see a lot of agents do this where they turn a 1 week vacation. Now, like sometimes I've seen it turn into a month vacation because they're talking about going on vacation. They just stop work and they're like, all right, I'm there. And you have to be careful about that because it does kind of like unpacking's a pain in the butt. If you got kids, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that's where you really need to chart your time on and time off. And it's like my view of vacation, I want to be working like literally right up until my last like minute in the office, my last appointment, and then I'm out and then I'm back in. Now that takes some training to do that. So, but that's what goes on in August.
Also for the actual clients.
Oh, the
like,
clients I agree with 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, these, I mean, they're doing the same. They have jobs too.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
So that's a great observation. So there's that happening. Home prices are unchanged, and price reduction paces are slowing. This to me is all a symptom of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
All these takeaways, like yes, they're accurate and they're factual. They're data driven. This is what happens in the month leading up to August.
Yep.
So, what sort of takeaways do you have for all these people that are maybe overanalyzing the data a little more? Because I still do see a run coming up here. I mean, we've seen price adjustments increase to 39% of all the listings that are on the market, which is obviously a good bit higher than where we have been the past couple years. Any other takeaways about how to navigate the market here as we head into that kind of final Q3, Q4 push?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for clients, if they're like let's say they've listed their home and day one they weren't flooded with offers or a million showings, just kind of making them aware that this is okay. It doesn't mean that there's necessarily a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If they are in a pinch where they need to get a home sold immediately, just kind of giving them different options. I think all you can do is present the facts and present different options and then let them decide what makes the most sense for them, because at the end of the day it is their decision.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to be, if you are pushing something too hard in one direction and that's not really what they want, they're not going to be happy with you at the end of the day. So it's just kind of like, this is what we're seeing, these are your options.
People like options. I mean, they may not all be good options,
right?
But there's options. That's a great way to look at it. So why don't we take a quick break? We are going to come back, talk about this EXP conversation and their record they're trying to set straight after a tweet and some other stuff here. We'll go over it all next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender, NMLS 128501. When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000.
I was just kind of reading through it here.
I like when I just toss it up and you just react to it. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Number one REMAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us, it's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's Tom, Toole with an E.com. Sell your home for more and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income?
10 seconds.
License or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole
Stand by.
Max main line.
We are back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Time, and we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about the EXP CEO jumping on YouTube Live to set the record straight after some comments about broker compensation when it comes to buyers. And we're also going to be talking about cancellations rising through the month of June here, and if people are actually worried about that. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel. Click on the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team, you can do that on the link in the comments. So, Sarah, I don't know how much you've been following this EXP story, but I'll break it down for everybody. I know it's been a hot topic here. So Ricky Carruth, he's with EXP, used to be with RE/MAX, and he posted something on his Instagram page. It says, just talked to the CEO of our brokerage, and after August 17th, no listing agent at our company will be allowed to share their commission with the selling agent of any of their listings. So this sounds like a strategy being rolled out with EXP. Then he goes on to say, listing agents who think they will continue to offer buyer agent compensation moving forward are living in a dream world. And he deleted the first slide, or the first post. Second one's still up. And, I mean, before I even get into all this here, what do you think of these comments by Ricky? Like, I mean, we've been following this lawsuit. We talk about it all the time here. We train on it at the office. What's your reaction to what he's saying?
I mean, I don't think that sounds accurate.
Tell me more.
So obviously with the terms of the settlement, there are going to be some adjustments that need to be made. But like offering a buyer agent commission that hasn't been taken away. And I don't know what kind of like dream world he's like talking about here, because like how we're allowed to advertise that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
The language that we maybe have to use to like describe it could like possibly be different, but it is still a very viable thing that you can do.
That is very well said, and I think that's the challenge here is that, you know, there's one, if they don't want to offer it out or they're advising sellers to do that, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's an option. Like they can have a business model that'll do that. I don't personally agree with that. But that's kind of what they I think he was talking about here. And then
what was he saying? Like they're not going to collect it and then disperse it. It's going to be
it's the sharing of the commission. So you'd have to ask the seller directly.
Right. So but like the seller could directly, again, you wouldn't be able to post this on the MLS, but the seller could have a predetermined like dollar amount or percentage that they will pay to the buyer's agent, and then like so it doesn't all get lumped in one place and then broken up. It would just be
there wouldn't be any commission sharing, right?
Okay.
So if you list a home for, you know, and it's a certain amount of bananas that's the commission, and then a portion of those bananas get paid to the buyer agent.
Yeah.
Out of that, they're saying that's not the case, so
right.
that it's going to have to be a separate thing.
This many bananas
to
you, this many
mm-hmm.
bananas to you.
But it couldn't be a sharing of it.
But you're not sharing it. You're just like
it had to come directly from the seller, which,
yeah.
I mean, and so that's what he said.
But it would still be at the settlement table. Like
Well, the seller would have to agree to that as a term in the contract.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's what they're saying. So, I want to give a lot of credit here to Leo Perea because this happened earlier in the week, and then he jumped on a YouTube with Byron Lazine over at BAM live like immediately. Like he was on a family vacation somewhere in California and had to go to another hotel to jump onto this. So I give him credit because most of these CEOs, we have to screen the questions and we have to do this, and he just jumped on to set the record straight. So I think that's a smart move on his part. So I listened to the whole interview, and there's what Leo Perea said was Ricky and I were having a casual conversation, and what I was referencing was broker to broker compensation. And broker to broker compensation will be deleted out of all MLSs on August 17th, which we can all agree on. I mean, that's right there. Then he made clear EXP stance. Now, again, this is one business model. There's another business model where you can still do this. This is still allowed with the NAR settlement. Listing agents who take a listing and be the middleman in sharing commission, that is no longer an option. So a listing agent can be instructed to market compensation or concessions. However, your state and MLSs allow it, but you're not going to be collecting it on behalf of the buyer agent. So the seller can absolutely pay concessions towards the buyer or buyer agent fees, but we cannot share commissions anymore. That's the crux of the settlement. I don't agree with that. I think this is what the DOJ wants. And Byron asked a great question in this interview. He said, "Are you basically bending the knee to the DOJ like early?" So if you watch like Game of Thrones, they talk about like bending the knee. It was good work by Byron. So and it sounded like are you looking ahead to potential changes from the DOJ? And they asked Ricky to take down the original post. And then Byron brought up like it seems like there's Ricky Carruth seems to imply there's only one business model, and then he referenced NAR's FAQ sheet, and he asked specifically whether it makes sense to operate according to the settlement FAQs or to interpret it according to where the DOJ seems to be headed, because I think that's the argument here.
Okay.
Because the NAR FAQs, just to be clear, I'm going to just read these to everybody here. This is right on NAR's website. So here we go. What is covered? So I'll get this up here. There's a lot of FAQs here. So, but there is the ability to share and still compensate agents on behalf of the seller. So that's the best question to ask. It was our first announced. We've seen MLSs constantly evolve, just like we did with our buyer representations agreement. We took a crack at it, put it in the field. We got feedback. We're always looking for feedback, and I can guarantee you over the next 6 months we'll see constant evolution. The reality is we're trying to serve consumers because they're still going to need professional representation. So, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing here is really what's like coming out. I mean,
Right.
and because the NAR has said like you can still do this, that's one option.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons you may want to do that as a seller. There was a survey out there from 1,000 Watt that said 77% of sellers they want to offer out buyer compensation.
Right.
So what do you think about the two models here?
I mean, so would when they were saying they're going to try and like steer to where they think the DOJ is going to go with this, is that just so that they don't have to change it? Like they don't have to like do it one way and then switch to a different way. They're just trying to like.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to get ahead of it. I mean, I don't know the thought process there because there's a factor here that I don't think a lot of people are considering because we had this settlement agreed to with it was DOJ and NAR. They had their investigation. It was all agreed to in 2019. Then there was an election in 2020, right? And then all of a sudden, the new DOJ comes in and they say, "Hey, we're going to change our mind. We're not doing this."
Yeah.
So I don't know why anyone would agree to anything with the DOJ right now, knowing there's another election coming up, because the current posture of the DOJ moving forward
could be different.
And you don't want to do this because even if they agreed to something now, it's probably not getting finalized until the inauguration in January or February, whenever that happens.
Right.
That would be just my guess.
Yeah.
And it would be, and this is much closer than 2019 to 2020. This is like within months.
Yeah.
So I think there's some people that are just going to say that's what we're going to do. I don't agree with it because to my view, it could hurt sellers in a lot of cases because I mean, we went over this today, right? There's really like 4 reasons why, sellers may want to offer compensation. 1 is that it's a competitive advantage. 2, buyers can't afford the compensation sometimes. 3, the best buyers tend to work with agents, at least right now. So you want to make sure you're incentivizing them. And 4, and I'll ask you this question: have you ever had like a last minute like change in terms, throw off a whole deal and kill it?
Yeah.
So this is just adding a whole new complication. Bless you.
Thank you.
That's going to come up. So I don't. I give EXP credit because they're certainly allowed to have that model. That's their prerogative. What I don't like
But
is
they don't get to like speak for everybody.
well, and there's some people out there that are already doing this. They're saying, hey, you don't have to pay a buyer anymore, and that may be a way to win listings. I just don't know if it's good advice.
Well, I'd be curious, and I'm sure there's numbers out there. The listings that are not offering out the buyer agency comp, what are they, how many, like, does that like lead to an increased days on market? Does it lead to lower offers? Does it lead to, like, it would be interesting to see how that all plays out and what like the numbers have to say for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think where it's going to be tough to track is like I don't know how because you can't filter like that,
Yeah.
in the MLS. And yeah, I mean there's obviously the homes that don't go to the market that they sell for a good bit less, but there's not that data is not going to be out there. What I'm clear on is that there's 2 models here, and I'm not saying this is the right model, but one model is to communicate things effectively. I mean, think about more innovative ways where even though because compensation's off the MLS, like we can all agree on that. It's not going to be on the MLS. Commission sharing's gone. It doesn't mean you can't do it off the MLS.
Right.
And that's specifically in the statement for the settlement. So.
Well, then I guess also, so it can't be marketed on there, but like right now, and obviously this change hasn't gone through yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you can look at closed sales going back years, and you can see on there
Mm-hmm.
what the buyer agency commission was on that transaction. Post sale, when it closes and the MLS is updated, I'm guessing it still won't say on there. It like won't go back and then say like, hey, we didn't tell you before what the commission was going to be.
Yeah, it's not
going to
be on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
So that would make it really difficult to like track the numbers and be able to provide that data with, as you're discussing options with the potential sellers.
Now, brokers should be tracking that data. In my view, I'd be collecting it internally, just like we do. I mean, every month, like if when we show, hey, here's where you want your business to be at each month, like that's not some data I pulled from the entire MLS. That's internal data that we've used because we do things a lot differently than other folks in a good way. So that's why tracking and measuring is so important.
Right.
And you're someone that I think has evolved a lot with tracking and measuring.
I'm trying.
But it's helped, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can do things in a more predictable way. So, this whole thing with EXP, I mean, and there's other brokerages and there's some other people that are saying the same stuff. That's going to be one model.
Yeah.
But that's in my view, it's you're just saying that because you're competing on price, and I think it's an effort to get more listings. Now there will be some people that aren't going to do this,
Right.
no matter who they talk to. I just don't agree with the model, and I wouldn't be agreeing to anything knowing what's to come. I mean, I look at the history as history is usually a good indicator of what's going to happen, right? And history tells you when you have a potential administration change, you might want to hold off agreeing to anything with the DOJ.
Right. I would also be curious though for EXP if they're going to use that as a way to like win listings, right? Say you don't have to offer out any buyer agency, yada yada. Then if it's sitting on the market, or even if like right from the get-go offers come in and each offer has as their terms, we're asking for the seller to pay this commission.
Mm-hmm.
Would they like if that's all you're getting in offers, like maybe they still take it, maybe they still pay it out, but they're just like from the get-go not saying that they will?
Well, there was a caveat in the interview. I'm so glad you brought this up, Sarah. This is why we're great on the show together. Because what if the seller says, hey, I appreciate all this. I still want to do this anyway.
Yeah.
So what they said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, is that there was a major caveat in all this. Well, we'd have to write that into our special terms because they now have their own listing contract they're going to put in there. I think it's very dangerous what they're going to be doing because they're relying on agents to type this up.
Right.
I mean,
that leaves a lot of room for mistakes.
I mean, I get emails from agents that are barely English. I mean,
Right.
it's gibberish sometimes. So they did talk about this, and
Because that to me sounds like if they wouldn't allow this, then you're making a decision for the seller, and isn't the whole thing supposed to be to let people make decisions for themselves?
Well, yeah, I agree. And I mean, so they talked about putting it into the additional terms section that they're going to be doing that. And I would and the Pennsylvania contracts are actually pretty good. So the and I don't know if you got a chance to read through them all yet. I know they just got released like a couple days ago. But the agreement and there's the exclusive listing contract. There's the agreement. Let me pull that up here. But they do have a section where it says, "Do you want to compensate buyer agents?" and you fill in the fee.
Mhm.
So Pennsylvania's got it all like pre-done, and if it's blank, it's a 0,
Okay.
and otherwise they can put something in there, and
Yeah.
it's very clear. I like what Pennsylvania did with their contracts. I don't like leaving this up to agents because, I mean, some agents don't even know what the contracts say,
Right.
let alone know how to. Like, they're not attorneys. Well, I mean,
Right.
there's some agents that are attorneys, but
Right.
very few.
Right.
Failed attorneys is probably what they really are, but that's a whole other story. So with having people put something in there, relying on agents to do this instead of having a legal team and make it all done, I think you're opening out yourself up to major liability.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Your reaction said it all. So I mean, you were laughing about it, and I think it's like, I mean, it's like we're in trouble here.
Like when it could just be a like drawn up, check yes, check no, put it in, don't put it in, like why you would not use that option and then make it be something that you're writing in yourself. You're asking for mistakes. You're asking for complications.
Mm-hmm. For sure, and I think that that is not good CEO work. I would not be wanting. I mean, you got 80,000 agents.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to go wrong.
Right. When if you are just using the standard contract, you can quickly go in and reference and like know what these different things mean. If you're leaving it up to somebody just writing it in special terms, the language could be vague. There could be like ways, even if it's written in there, people can decipher things different ways. So the contract being just the pre-written contract, there are rules in place and there have been things determined to be like, this is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gray.
Well, and I think that's the danger of having a standard contract for 50 states. That's a bad idea because state laws are different. I like what they're trying to do here, but then you look at the bottom of this contract that they came out, and this is the EXP contract. It says, Wisconsin only. This form has been drafted by broker. Colorado only. This form has not been approved by the Colorado Real Estate Commission because Colorado came out and said, I think this settlement's illegal to have to sign it's not in line with state laws to sign a contract before you even get there. So I would be deferring to your state. Mm-hmm. I mean, Pennsylvania, I think, has done a nice job with the forms. They're very clear and concise. I know we've looked at them before, and they have it all marked up. They've done some webinars. I mean, that's all really good stuff. So I don't know why they're overcomplicating this, but leaving it up to agents is a bad idea.
I agree.
So credit to Leo for getting on. I think that was a good move on his part. I mean, the guy interrupted his vacation, did all that, and when you look at this here, I mean, he did say we're going to be revising these contracts. So I think that is fair to say because, I mean, the more feedback he gets on this, 80,000 agents, we have, 50, 60 agents on our team. I wouldn't feel comfortable with 50 or 60 people doing that, let alone 80,000. And I mean, that would just make me very nervous.
Well, and my initial thought is poor Angela, our transaction coordinator, trying to like go through and like double check all of this and make sure that, or I guess for listing side, it would be, one of the Karens. But I just feel like that's putting more work.
Well, you're putting it on an admin who's also not an attorney. Like, right. I mean, this needs to be done by the right authority here. So that to me is the questionable part of this. But they're also, again, a countrywide agreement. Laws are different in states. Like, you go to New Jersey, they got a 3-day right of refusal. So you don't even, which makes no sense to me, but that's a whole nother thing. So,
yeah.
So great job, Leo, for jumping on. I'm still clear there's more than one model here. I don't agree with Ricky's take on this. I think that's faulty logic and you're not looking out for your consumer. But we're going to see what happens. This is all going to play out the way it plays out. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about a few different things, including home cancellations rising. And if Sarah and I are worried about this, as well as some other interesting statistics that'll help people be more of a knowledge broker in the current market. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call
I'll
at
talk about this
610
blog stuff and all that.
439
Did you figure out your email?
Yeah,
I'm Tom
they're in there.
Toole of the
Just
Tom
wanna make
Toole
sure.
Sales Group at Remax Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 Remax team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30 plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one
Whatever,
for
record
free.
these commercials.
Check
Do
it out
you want to
at
do the commercials?
realestateScholarshipProgram.com.
Sure.
Well, the whole
Or
point is
visit the Tom Toole
to help you
Sales
get more
Group at
like
Remax
Yeah.
Mainline at tomtoole.com.
let's see if Laura opened her
That's
emails.
tomtoolewithane.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610.
I'm gonna send her a couple and be like, hey, I'm not sure these are for you.
Or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team,
So
the
she's
Tom
thinking
Toole
like
Sales Group at
600,000?
Remax Mainline.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't
I
have
just
to
put
sacrifice
purple.
great
30 seconds.
Great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for 35 years.
She
We have
said
access
it's not
to great low
1.45.
rates without the complications and delays.
Oh, she doesn't want to live in the city.
We're a local
Okay.
Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender,
doing
we
business
specialize
outside
in
the
all
city,
residential
like,
mortgage programs, including
It's like
Yeah.
tax for
and
living.
low down payment
Yeah.
options.
This
For your
is baby. It's
free
not like she's like
pre-approval,
going.
call us at
Yeah.
610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
I think this is the house. All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Mainline, the #1 Remax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about what is going on with contract cancellations in the month of June and some other things as well that are going to affect how you talk to consumers or how consumers should be thinking. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team about how all this information affects you, you can do that with the link in the comments. So there was 56,000 home purchase contracts north of that canceled in the month of June. This was according to a Redfin report, and Redfin does a good job. At, even though the CEO talks out of his rear end about the election being a factor here, they do this. They chart kind of what an acceptable termination range is, like monthly pending sales, and it was at 14.9%, which is the highest we've seen since kind of towards the end of last year when we saw rates jump up.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the pandemic's another spike there. It's definitely on the high end, and home hunters they're apparently having trouble committing because homes are more expensive than ever. U.S. home prices hit an all-time high in the month of June in terms of the median home sale price in the U.S. So, that's pretty interesting to see that data. I'm not totally surprised. Did you feel like there was more buyers backing out of properties? I mean, did you feel like some uncertainty in the market?
To some degree. And I think part of that has to do with as you start, as people are more likely to, in some cases, get inspections, written into the contract there. Inspections always opens up some degree of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
One, because you don't know what is going to come up from them. And two, like the inspection reports sound scary, even if it is there is nothing majorly wrong with the home. Like you look at these reports and things sound scary. So it also is coming back to a time where you have to be able to negotiate and you have to be able to explain to both your client and to work with the agent on the other side of the deal to keep things moving forward. And it is not always easy. And it's something that maybe if agents have just gotten into the business in more recent years, they may not have really had to do that much. So there's probably a lot of agents out there that have only done deals where you got the offer in, like, yes, you need to make sure your deposit's in, you need to make sure, you know, that you're hitting the dates for like mortgage commitment and whatever. But like there isn't any huge hurdle or negotiation, maybe appraisal, but that you need to work through. And now this is coming up, and it can be tricky. It can be hairy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think some people they back out because they're maybe not ready or not sold on the house, and there's a lot of reasons. So according to Bright MLS, they reported that 14% of June contracts fell through specifically due to challenges with buyer financing. And this is like the Mid-Atlantic region. So you got D.C., Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware. Agents also reported to Bright that a lack of affordable options is the number one reason their clients pause their home search. So, but they also say that typically sellers have fallback in these cases, and that their sellers are receiving an average of 3 offers on their home and appear happy with the price they're getting at closing. And when you look at these numbers here, you're talking about lack of affordable options. There are some strategies that agents can use. We've talked about a lot of them where you're maybe going to adjacent towns instead of like I only want to live in downtown media borough, right? I mean, how many times have you heard something like that? And then they end up buying something somewhere totally different.
Right.
And there's also an interesting stat out there that 32% of all the buyers out there, only 32% of consumers are aware of low down payment options.
Okay.
Which is a lack of education. And I mean, we talked about this today at our market memorandum training. So, I mean, it's really important to know what the options are, like, and just present those things. You talked about giving options to people. So, USDA loans, most of Chester County is eligible for that. That's a 0% down loan.
Okay.
You got VA. I mean, that's obviously for veterans. First-time home buyers can get 3% down conventional loans. You've got 5% down conventional loans. You got FHA at 3.5%. There's piggyback options with some non-QM lenders where you get a first and a second. And there's also the K-Fit program for, folks that have that forgivable second loan. So this isn't going to be all the options.
Right.
But if you're talking about affordability concerns, these are the options you need to have available. So, I mean, do you ever run it? I feel like you don't run into this because you know how to talk to these folks. But do you see a lot of buyers like they're unaware of what their options are?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty good, I think, at like staying in my lane. So I know that there's options out there, but will I know like all of the ins and outs of every option that you may have? No. So I am very quick to be like, and I'd be happy to like hop on the phone with them, but like, let's talk to the lender. Let's find out. Like, ask the questions. Like, also like, give your lender all of the real information so that there isn't, because there could be things that can make you qualify for something or not. And the last thing you want to do is like think that you do or don't, and then it's not the case. So like, give the lender the facts and and then don't be afraid to ask, like, all right, you gave me this option. What else can I do? And if they're not willing to look into other things or whatever, talk to another lender.
I agree with all that, and I also see this as an opportunity for agents because there's some agents that are like, I'm not showing anyone a home that's not pre-approved. So that's bad business. I want to be very clear about that. And what we know is that if only 1 out of 3, that's what we're talking about here, consumers know about low down payment options, it's probably due to lack of questions by the agent and lack of guidance, right? So imagine, what did you know about buying a home the first time you bought a property? No, nothing, right? So, okay, so this is a prime example, right? And now Sarah's selling tons of homes a year. So if someone asked you, like, hey, so are you guys planning on paying cash or financing? You say financing. It's not an unreasonable question to ask, how much money do you have budgeted for a down payment right now?
Right.
Because you might be thinking you got a number in your head.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I want to buy a home for this, and I know I need X amount. I mean, so many people think they need 20% down. Obviously, it's over 2/3 of buyers. I mean, the numbers are right here.
Yeah.
So that question is very critical.
So does low down payment, does that mean under 20%?
That would, yeah.
Is that like the
exactly
definition? Okay. Yeah.
But that's where you got to have a great lender partnership, or I would say multiple
Yeah.
lenders partners,
Yeah.
so you can give options, like you said, and make sure they connect with the right person they're going to connect with.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's it for this week's episode. You want to follow Sarah? She's at Ty Time on Instagram. You can follow me at TomToole3rd, at TomToole3RD on Instagram. And we're streaming live every week. So if you could do us a favor, if you like the show, I'm sure you liked at least what Sarah had to say. Just make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team about real estate and helping you with your needs, or maybe you want to get into an environment like we have available for agents, you can do that with the link in the comments. We'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.